Here's what makes what I'm about to say worthy of an alert. Proof that no one in Washington really has a clue. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto, and I'm going to depart from form a little right now to get something off my chest that's been bugging me, well, the past couple of weeks now. A concern that's really, well, more a question. Let me ask you something. Would you give a known drug addict money if he swore in a stack of Bibles that he wasn't going to use it to buy drugs? Of course not, because you just wouldn't trust him, right? So why do we willingly fork over more money to known spending addicts and think the result will be any different? I'll tell you why. Because we're guilted into not giving them the money. That's why. We are made to look callous, those of us who dare say, no, not another dime from us. We sound selfish and mean just because we ask where all the money we've given them went. Trillions of dollars spent to fight a war on poverty, and still so much poverty. Trillions spent to lift minorities out of destitution, yet more minorities than ever destitute. Hundreds of billions of dollars raised in gas taxes and road taxes and transportation taxes and toll taxes and surtaxes to fix bridges that are still falling down no matter how much cash we keep coughing up. Stimulus that doesn't stimulate, rescues that themselves need rescuing. Now, you would think even a normally compliant mainstream media would start using its head as well as its heart and tell these politicians, wait a minute, this is heartless, this is wrong, this is a waste. Yet I'm telling you that every time I question this spending, I'm the one who's morally spent. I'm the one who's darn near Satan. Incredible, but I really don't care. Because this isn't about the poor and the dilapidating. This is about how this hypocrisy is leaving all of us poor and our country dilapidating. This is about the lobby for the poor and dilapidating. The lobby that demands still more cash, but refuses to account for all that other cash, for all those other programs, for all those other initiatives. A lobby that forever lobbies for more under the guise of helping, but leaves so many still helpless, so many roads still paveless, and so many of us increasingly cashless. You ever wonder where is the lobby for us? The folks who pay the bills but see so few results. The folks whose hearts are very big but whose wallets now are very much bus. The folks who are made out to look like creeps. If we dare ask, what happened to all the cash? Why is it inhuman to question throwing good money after bad, but humane when you keep demanding still more money and everything stays bad? Don't you find it rich, the politician who takes offense to anyone who dare ask, what about the poor? What about all that money spent on the poor? Why are they still poor? Why are there more poor? And what about those potholes that never get fixed? And those bridges that never get repaired? Take it from me, it is lonely asking these questions, but think about that drug addict asking for the dough. Are you helping him, giving him more money just so he could shut up? Or are you compounding the problem because you know he'll be back to hit you up? No, my friends, it is not cruel to question where all of this money goes. It is cruel not to. Okay, I want to go into this with these fine friends and experts here. We got radio talk show host Monica Crowley, FBN's Charlie Gasparino, last but not least, Democratic strategist David Mercer. So, David, I want to begin with you because that has been my rap, largely, not exclusively, against some Democratic politicians I've had on who just say, Neil, how dare you question the need for infrastructure repair? I'd never questioned the need. I did question what happened to all the other monies we've raised to address that need. And therein lies the rub. Anyone who even demands accountability gets rubbed out. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't think, I think accountability is something that we should all be held to, and but people are. David. As we're here talking, as we're here talking today, as to where is the money going and where's the state of the economy, and is it being appropriated accordingly to improve our economy? And with deficits, we had a surplus last month in December. We have deficits in decline on an annual basis over the last 4 or 5 years. That was not the trend during the Bush years. And we also are trying to get a stronger footing on employment, where we're now down to 6.7%.
You're veering off track. I'm simply asking you,
sure,
why not demand accountability and checking where all those infrastructure funds went? Question where the trillions have gone to make us win the war on poverty. Where did that go? Before we heap more money upon that money. That's what I'm asking.
And it's very clear from the spending bill that was just passed in the House. It is very much accountable as to where the money is going and also where it's not going. And one thing we do know is that it's not going to unemployment benefits and extending them, which will lead...
I tried so hard not to make this a political hack attack, but Monica, my worry about this on the right, because everyone has their pet peeves and their pet projects as well, and part of this sees the need for more money to fund whatever you want to do without demanding accountability for the money you spent.
Yeah, government is the least efficient apparatus on the face of the earth because there is no profit motive. The only motivation inspiring any political leaders in this country is getting reelected. And what does that mean? That means passing on more and more money, getting more money from the taxpayer, plowing it back into your state, back into your district. And you're absolutely right, Neil, when you say that Republicans are as much a part of the problem as Democrats. Democrats are more guilty of taxing and spending and borrowing. However, you have so many Republicans, not all, but you have so many Republicans on the other side who are progressives, who do believe in big government, who refuse to rein in spending, who refuse to rein in the size of government. They are just as guilty of getting us into this predicament as the Democrats, who are at least honest.
We're going in a circle about it, right?
But
Gasparino, I want to bring you into it because I think this gets back to how you look and how many in the media are afraid they will look if they dare question extending unemployment benefits, or they dare seem to be heartless by even questioning the idea of going beyond 50 weeks, 99 weeks, whatever.
Well, how's this for Washington accountability? Fannie and Freddie still exist. These two monstrosities that caused the housing crisis still exist. And by the way, Fannie and Freddie were hit with accounting scandals back in 2000. It was at least it was before the financial crisis, and not many reporters questioned them. Why? Because Fannie and Freddie was allegedly doing God's work, helping poor people get loans. As we know, those loans were given to people who really couldn't afford the houses that they were buying and to repay the loans, and hence we had a housing crisis and then a financial crisis. So, the road to serfdom is often paved with good intentions, and there is no accountability. We should point out that the stimulus package and President Obama, this is where he's at his low point. He laughs about this. There was no shovel-ready projects out of that stimulus package, and he actually laughs about that. So that's where we go. That's where the money's spent.
Well, I guess what I'm asking now, and David, this is that I've tried on. Monica brought it out as well on this pox on both parties' houses for just turning a blind eye to this. But my fear is that every time you question pouring more money into something, anything, let's say unemployment benefits, let's say more for a variety of poverty programs that really haven't done much to move the needle on poverty, you instantly, and I have emails to prove it, and the phone calls, the cursing electronically to prove it, you come across as Satan in a cheap suit. I don't think this is such a cheap suit, but you got it.
I don't think anybody should fear being held accountable to how we're spending money or where we're not spending money.
Have you seen the politicians I've interviewed on this show? When I start saying, before you ask another dime from me, can you explain how tens of billions of infrastructure dough has just disappeared? You would think I had ripped their heart out.
And they should be held accountable for that. And we saw, counter to what was said earlier, with the infrastructure projects that are on the books, that without that we would be in a worse shape than we were 4 years ago.
All right, I really would have tried.
We have to have investments.
Monica, what I'm asking for is, I recommended this on my Fox Business show, which, Monica, if you don't get, you should demand. And the issue was full accountability, a full accounting of all departments, and Inspector General for all federal spending, so we can keep track of every penny where it goes, and not just sort of like a sweeping generality to put into some sort of a vague sort of overall budget without getting into details. Then you're shining the light on all this.
Yeah, and we've always needed that, but since the Great Recession, 2007, 2008, we have had unprecedented fiscal and monetary stimulus, and this economy is still in sad shape, and there's no accountability. There's nobody representing
Neil,
the taxpayer.
if there was bipartisan accountability, and I say bipartisan, Fannie and Freddie would have been out of business back in 2005 when there was an accounting scandal. Now, why was it stayed in business? Well, George Bush liked Fannie and Freddie. They liked the housing program.
No, none of this to go around, guys. I wanted
that our budget now is lower than it was in 2008. It was 1.78 trillion, and it's 1.1 trillion this time. That's accountability.
I'm glad you got into this debate. I am going to keep pushing this, though, and I do appreciate you guys helping. helping me push back and forth on it. But it really comes back to this, folks. It is your money, and I am the money guy here at Fox, and there's nothing really magic to what I do. It's money in, money out for me. I see a lot of money going out, and I can't explain it. I can't track it, and when I have trouble tracking, I'm pretty good at this stuff. You are in deep doo-doo. And Herman Cain says it's really no way to run a business, let alone a country. Herman, that's what concerns me, that there is a sort of a blind indifference to accountability, and that's the big worry going forward.
Neil, it's even worse than that, and it's even worse than you pointed out. Let me make 2 points. First, we don't willingly give them this money to continue to waste. They take it using the force of law. Obamacare is the latest catastrophe where they do that. And secondly, it's so bad in Washington, Neil, even when the Government Accountability Office documents the waste, nothing is ever done about it.
But, you know, Republicans are good at this, too. I mean, it's one thing whether you're for or against the Iraq war, but writing a check and keeping it off budget and no questions about what's being spent on the Iraq war. I think people are smart enough to know that wars are costly. Itemize it for me. Tell me what you're doing. We don't do that. We don't do that enough. I know I'm like an accounting numbers nerd here, but I know you're a bit of a nerd, but you're a cooler nerd, that you like to make sure, as a former business guy, more money comes in than goes out. And that's generally a good rule of thumb, and both parties have forgotten it.
If a business did what the federal government is doing, we would be in jail.
Yeah.
The reason that they continue to do this is because not enough people are paying attention. Neil, polls have shown 50% of the people are clueless. And so when it's election time, they fall for the slick commercial or they fall for the latest goodie, the latest free stuff, and they send some of the same people back. More of the American people are going to have to wake up, or this problem is going to continue, just like the poverty war on poverty, lasted 50 years, $20 trillion, and there are more poor people today than there were then.
But Herman, the bottom line, we're not doing that. Here's my word. This latest budget accord, you know, you could commend them for avoiding a government shutdown or whatever you want to say, but the way we arrived at that was to do something that really doesn't address our long-term spending issues, and we just breathe a sigh of relief because for now the deficit situation seems to be improving, not forgetting the fact that it's going to get worse, and that's unavoidable. So we just take a pass, and we keep taking the people's money.
That's exactly what they keep taking the people's money. It's the political class versus the working class, and that's us. And the political class are acting like they're the ruling class, using the force of law in order to continue to take advantage of the American people. And it's not going to stop until more of the American people. Neil, here's one thing that's not even included in that omnibus budget. That is the abuse and the lies that are going to hit with Obamacare. That's not even included.
We'll watch that one closely, and that is coming up. That is always,
and the costs are going to be even worse.
Thank you very much, Herman Cain. I know, folks, I'm sorry we departed from our normal form here to go a little long on this, but I think it cuts to the core of why we as a country are dropping on all these surveys as far as investment havens are concerned, whether people want to set up shop in this country. We've dropped to 12th on that list, folks. We're below Estonia. Enough said.